Welcome to Arts Roll Call, a podcast showcasing artists and arts organizations, highlighting the role of the arts today in Greater Lansing. I'm Robin Miner-Swartz. I'm an editor, communications consultant, and a lifelong arts advocate. And today I'm talking with Brian Snyder. He's a painter whose art is influenced by Australian Aboriginal culture, smooth jazz, and graphic design. He was born in Albion, Michigan, and moved to France in 1999, but he's back in Old Town Lansing now, working as a student support specialist at Gardner International Magnet School and continuing to create art. Brian also has a passion for and a background in sports. While his bachelor's degree is in art and graphic design, his master's is in recreation and sport sciences, and he's pursuing his doctorate in kinesiology right now. He played semi-pro basketball in Europe, and he's about to start his 5th season coaching basketball at the University of Olivet. Brian's work has been featured 3 times in Art Prize in Grand Rapids, and he has exhibited in multiple galleries throughout the region, including his most recent show, The Journey Continues, American Aboriginal Art at the Lansing Art Gallery. Hi, Brian. Welcome to Arts Roll Call.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Well, your bio has intrigued me so much, and I'm so excited to talk with you today. You seem to have almost an equal balance between sports and art in your life. But since this is the Arts Roll Call podcast, we'll start with the art side of things. When did you discover your love for painting?
Probably at an early age. My brother Steve is also an artist, and I think I really began to find an interest during kindergarten when we began to do art classes. So I began drawing. I started off by tracing the comics. My favorite was the Flintstones, and eventually I was able to memorize it and see how it looked. And when I went to school, all the kids wanted me to draw Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble for them. So that's kind of how it started, and I've been an artist ever since.
So when did basketball enter the picture too? How did you start playing? Was it that young as well?
Yes, I'd say basketball started in kindergarten as well. I was 5 years old. I can remember the opportunity to shoot my first basket, which I made, and from that point on, I was hooked. We had a tall basket for the older kids at our school, and a smaller hoop for the younger kids. And I can remember once I made my first shot, I just thought, "Wow, this is what I want to do." And so I was in love with basketball from day one.
So can you talk a bit about how basketball and art came together for you during your time in Europe?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I was playing international basketball. I played initially after graduation from Salzburg University. Spring Arbor University. I went to Salzburg, Austria, where I had an opportunity to play 2 years. I was also exhibiting and creating artwork and having opportunities to sell my work. And so it's always been a natural combination. Basketball and art have always gone together. My degree is in art, like you stated, and I played basketball at Spring Arbor. And so it's always been hand in hand. Left hand is art and right hand is basketball.
Is that true? Are you left-handed when you create?
Yes, I'm actually ambidextrous in terms of basketball. I'm naturally a left-hander, but being a basketball player, you've got to be able to use both hands. And so I've developed, the ability to play basketball with my left as well as my right. But my art is definitely left-handed.
Interesting. Well, so as an emerging artist while you were overseas, that must have been quite an amazing experience, especially when it comes to selling your art. I mean, that's got to be pretty unusual too. How did you get connected to the art agency in London, and what was that experience
Yeah,
like?
well, every day was a great experience with both. But in terms of getting connected with London, I was playing basketball in Brighton, England, and I had an opportunity. Some days I would be an artist, some days I'm a basketball player. And there's a court down at Brighton Beach, was probably one of the most popular courts in Europe, where people come from all over Europe to play and challenge themselves on the basketball court. And there were days when I would just go down and focus on selling my artwork. I would take a couple of duffel bags full of paintings and just sit outside and of course keeping an eye on the basketball action, but I was always in tune to meeting, different people who are interested in art. And I had an opportunity to meet an interior designer from London, and she bought a couple paintings and she expressed an interest in maybe me looking into having my work displayed in London. So she connected me with a art agency called Impact Art, which is in London. And once I connected with them, they were able to promote me and give me shows and just give me an opportunity to sell my work.
What was going through your mind when that happened? I mean, did you go over there with that hope or with that plan, or was this something that really just kind of caught you out of left field?
Well, I'm always ready. And like I said, my motto is if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And so I constantly had art with me. And being in England, it's amazing. Brighton is considered the San Francisco of Europe. It's a big art community, and being an hour or so from London, there's many opportunities. People come down from London, and again, Brighton Beach, which is on the English Channel, attracts a lot of different people, and just having the opportunity to play basketball and sell art was amazing. And so, yes, every day was a different experience, but I was able to use my art ability to market myself and get involved in the art world as well.
So we're talking a lot about Europe in this part of our conversation, but when I introduced you, I talked about Australian Aboriginal influence. So I'm wondering, can you tell us how that became part of your work?
Yeah, well, my first experience of playing basketball happened in Salzburg, Austria, which was way back in 1991. I had an opportunity following graduation to join the Salzburg Bulls, which is a team in the Austrian second division. And so I had an opportunity, being an art lover, I would, go to different galleries and museums. Well, I happened to catch a traveling Australian Aboriginal art show, which immediately it just captured me and blew my mind. And I was immediately interested. And so I began to kind of develop my own style. It probably took about a year or so before I was comfortable laying down the paints and being able to develop the proper technique. So I've been inspired by Aboriginal art ever since. And that was about 31 years ago. So it's just been a big part of my life. I do other types of art. However, Aboriginal certainly is the main influence of my art style.
And I also mentioned smooth jazz being an inspiration. Did that show up at about the same time, or did one come before the other?
Well, I've always been interested in music. I actually played in the band during school. And again, I lived in Salzburg, which was the home of Mozart, but I was interested in smooth jazz. And so it was just a very inspirational style of music to fit my style of art. And being a basketball player, you play a lot, you practice a lot, you work out. So there's times when you really need to relax and meditate. And I often found smooth jazz was the medium that I preferred to use to relax, and just kind of transformed into my painting style as well.
There's a lot of kinetic energy in the art you create, and you're, of course, now working on your doctorate in kinesiology.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about your journey with that and what made you decide to pursue that as a doctorate.
Well, I've always had a goal as a youth to earn a doctorate, and again, being a basketball player and just constantly taking care of my body and learning the mechanics of the body and the movement, I was inspired after I got my master's degree from Ohio University in recreation and sports sciences. I was sort of at a point where I thought, this is it. I could just feel sort of a letdown, and so I decided that I would pursue my doctorate. And I immediately recognized that kinesiology was the area that I was interested in. I had often thought about maybe pursuing a master's of fine arts. However, I just realized I didn't want to be a professor or teach art, and that I could still consider myself a professional artist in paint. But I just found kinesiology and being a basketball coach was a perfect mix. I'm focusing on sports psychology, which is a major aspect of competing in basketball, and just kind of giving players the mental edge to compete at a high level. So it's a natural fit for both of them.
So are you obviously the work you're doing on that doctorate is a direct line into the work you're doing with the basketball team, but are you finding anything in your studies that seems to connect to your art as well?
Oh, most definitely. I look at it, it's a mental aspect. Again, I'm focused on sports psychology. And as an artist, you're competing against yourself. There's times when you're tired, you just don't feel like painting, but you find that extra gear to push yourself to get through it the moments when you're tired or you have other stuff to do. So I definitely find being an athlete and an artist gives you that sort of motivating feeling when you're, to create and to kind of separate yourself from other people. When I played basketball, I had to compete against other people. So I kind of transformed that where I'm keeping that motivation, those gears going by encouraging and pushing myself and motivating myself to really work hard. So it's a similar feeling, but you're actually competing against yourself because you're individually as an artist and competing to have shows and sell paintings. So
So now you're back in Lansing, you living in Old Town, and I know you frequently make art at the Turner Mini Park near the
yeah.
Arts Council offices. How did you choose Old Town to be the place you landed?
Well, like you said in the beginning, I moved to Lansing in 1999. I had been living in France where I had an opportunity to play basketball and coach as well. And so we settled here in Lansing at the time. And I actually met Brian Whitfield, who's one of my best friends today. Brian is an artist as well. And Wanting to get connected to the art world. He introduced me to the great Robert Busby, which was a phenomenal experience. And from that day, I picked Robert's brain and talked to him and asked him about the art scene. And my biggest thing was to get into Old Town. I wanted to live down there and have an opportunity to be visual every day. And so Robert, prior to his passing, gave me an opportunity to have a show at the Creole Gallery, which was formerly, now it's a restaurant. And so having an opportunity to have a show there kind of opened the doors. And from that point on, I've been in Old Town, I believe, about 15 years now.
Wow. So you've really seen it evolve over the years
Oh,
too.
completely. Yeah, from retail. I mean, there used to be a lot of galleries, and now it's more restaurants and retail, but it's still a great place to be. And I enjoy sitting out at the Turner Mini Park and meeting so many people and painting in the summertime.
Well, so you're right near the Arts Council there. How does the Arts Council help with your creative pursuits and the work you do as an artist?
Well, they've been phenomenal, and I kick myself for not joining a lot sooner. I've been able to connect with some really great people, and they promote shows. They send us flyers on different opportunities to display your work and professional opportunities. So it's a no-brainer to be a part of the Arts Council. There's great staff, and it's a couple doors down from my place, so I'm right there, and so it's a great opportunity to be connected with them.
So what's next for you? How do art and basketball and kinesiology come together for you down the road?
Well, it definitely keeps me busy. We're currently starting our basketball season now. In fact, I have practice right after this, and so we've started our conditioning. Division 3, which is the University of Olivet, they've given us an opportunity to practice early. Normally, we can't start until October 15th, but they've allowed us to have 8 practices. So we're just getting an early start. And in terms of kinesiology, I finished my last class on the end of August, August 23rd, and so I've got 2 weeks off. We start back on the 5th of September, so I've had a little chance to catch my breath and get my wind and get ready for the next course. But in terms of art, I really don't foresee anything big happening besides Art Prize. I got accepted into Art Prize again, and so I'm excited about that,
That's
which will
big.
start. Thank you. It'll start September 14th through October 3rd. So I'm excited about having an opportunity to be in Grand Rapids and just kind of hang out and enjoy all the art. And it's kind of like the art Olympics. There's artists from all over the world and, so many different mediums and great artists. So I'm excited about that.
Are you able to talk about the piece you have in Art Prize?
Yes, actually, I can. It's a piece that was inspired by my late mother who passed away, and she had a great love of flowers. And this one is entitled Fleurs Jardin Trois, which is Flower Garden 3. I've had a love for flowers ever since I lived in France, and there's so many beautiful flowers. And again, my mother loved flowers tremendously, and so it's just a basic tribute and honor to her. And you
What
can
has
actually
the
see
Oh, go
images of
ahead.
it on Facebook. I'm sorry.
Oh,
You can
nice.
see
Nice.
images on my Facebook, and so I'm excited about that.
What has the Art Prize experience given you as an artist?
Well, initially, when I first joined, I did it in 2012 and 2014. I just saw the bigger the better. So I went really big. I had a couple big pieces that I did that were actually displayed at the Lansing Art Gallery in my most recent show, which they're so big I haven't really had a chance to have them on display. So I was excited to have those on display. But this year I took a different approach. Being so busy, I didn't really have much time to paint. So I put many, many hours and months and years into painting, and I just was able to pull up something that I did. I believe it was in January of 23. Again, another tribute to my mother. And so that piece was ready, and I entered and was selected to a venue. And now I'm just sitting back waiting for the date I have to deliver my piece.
That's great. Well, so other than Art Prize, where can people find your work?
Well, I don't have a website, but I am on Instagram and Facebook. My Instagram page is artsyballer7, and I'm listed on Facebook as Brian Snyder. There are numerous Brian Snyders, but you'll recognize me because I'm wearing a suit and tie for basketball.
That's great. Well, Brian, it's been so interesting to hear your story and hear these two paths that people often think are very diverse come together in you. And thank you so much for sharing this and taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much.
Well, this podcast has been a production of the Arts Council of Greater Lansing. To learn more about them, go to lansingarts.org.